In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel, episode number 105. Yeah, so today we want to do NHL grades. So we figured it was quarter way through the season, so why don't we see how we think every team is doing so far, right?
Sounds good to me.
All right, starting basically at the top of the top with the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much the best team in the NHL at everything, which is really annoying because I mean, the only thing that they aren't number one in is power play. And even then, they're still in third place.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, well, we went through it. We graded each team overall as well as on the aspects of offense, defense, and goaltending. Now, goaltending, I don't know. Did you expect for goaltending to be what it is? Because I'll be honest, I don't even know who their primary goaltender is. Is it
Um,
Omar?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. And where did he come from, by the way? Because I genuinely don't know.
I don't know.
There's a million different ways to enter the league in hockey,
Yeah,
but like I feel like goaltenders, you kind of know. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Sorokin and Shesterkin came over from the KHL, but like that's not normally how goaltenders make their way into the NHL.
No, yeah, but I gotta say, everybody's been performing really well. I mean, it helps with the defense they have in front of them, but still 2.11 goals allowed is per game is nothing.
See, this is also what pisses me off about the fact that you guys didn't just lock up Taylor Hall. You guys let him go to Buffalo. He ends up in Boston, and he can be the third line on the third line there for the next 7 years. Then they bring Krejci back, and the fact that Bergeron and all those other older guys are just kind of living in a world where being on the back end of your prime doesn't mean anything.
And Pasternak is on the last year of his deal, though, right?
Yeah, but Pasternak is on the other side of 32.
Yeah, but he can he's playing his heart out. 38 points.
Yeah, I mean, they somehow have it figured out where they don't have to lean on the aging talent. They like Pasta is still the younger side of their core.
Yeah,
Um, it seems to be working pretty well, but I mean,
and
it's hard to not work well when you're basically number one in offense and defense.
And to be fair, I'm surprised at how well Zaka is doing in that lineup, considering he'd probably be getting less than half the points he currently has if he was in the Devils still.
Mhm.
So I think that thing worked out for both of us. Yeah. Anything else you want to say? Or on
No,
to.
no, I don't like the Bruins, and if you make me talk about them longer, then I will not have nice things to say.
All right. So we have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now we gave the offense an A, even though they're 13th in goals per scored per game.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, like,
but the thing is, Marner, Matthews, Nylander are just too consistent not to put them there.
yeah, I
Especially
would agree with that.
with how Marner had, I don't know if he still has or had his 20 game point streak at this point. it whatever, even if it's still going, like holy crap.
Yeah, and according to the Daily Face-Off here, uh, this updated December 12th, you have Austin Matthews and William Nylander on one line, but Marner is on the Tavares line.
Yep.
So, kudos to him for generating because I have no idea who Dennis Malgin is, but I mean, do you?
Nope.
Okay, well, he's their second line left wing, so you know, we both know that money only buys so much, and you only have so much money when it comes to a salary cap sport. But that's a drop off in talent. So I don't know.
Yeah.
For Marner
And
to be the top point scorer is either a testament to Tavares getting him opportunities, or Marner just having complete disregard for everybody else.
I'm pretty sure, well, see, Marner's also on the first power play. And their power play
Okay,
is
but
pretty
how
damn
much is
good.
that actually accounting for?
I mean,
Their power play is pretty good, as you said, but it's still nine.
no, it's not great, but like I'm pretty sure out of like their 25%, power play conversion, most of it is the first power play and very little of it is the second power play. So, I think that even though Marner's not on like with Matthews and Nylander, he still gets time with them, especially when what the average is like 4 penalties per game, so 8 minutes,
Hmm.
and your first unit's probably taking 5 of those minutes at least.
Yes.
I think that does contribute, especially with how close these point totals are.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then even though they only give up 2.4 goals per game, their penalty kill is pretty bad, so the defense takes a hit. And I don't think they face like as much. They're a pretty offense heavy team, so yeah, that's why at least in my opinion, the goaltending and defense
Your
deserve a
first,
small hit.
your, your first unit power play is Tavares, Nylander, Matthews, Marner, and Sandin.
Yep.
And then let's see. I mean, your two goalies are Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov, not the most lovable pair. Um,
Have we've
they
already
do have
eclipsed from Matt Murray pushing the goal off the post a couple times this year.
Jake Muzzin, Calle Yarncroke, Jordy Ben, and Morgan Riley all on IR right now.
Yeah, and that's saying something. It's like the thing with their goaltending is it's good, but like
It's
it's pretty
spurts.
streaky.
Hmm.
Like this 2.41 doesn't really tell the whole story.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so yeah, like if it was a more consistent 2.41, they would totally be up there. But it's not, it's just not.
Hmm.
All right.
All right, let's move on.
Detroit Red Wings, we give them B minus. So they are 19th in goals per game, 17th in goals allowed per game, 22nd in power play, 14th in penalty kill. Um,
And I will say, part of our grades here is also what a team is supposed to be.
yeah,
So, like looking at Detroit's um roster, it's not very good.
no,
David Perron is on the first line, which at this stage in his career should not be
anywhere
true,
near it.
no matter where he is.
Yep.
Um, so like him and Dylan Larkin, I guess, are their two best players, and I say that because I really don't. I mean, Andrew Kopp is there, but
I mean,
you know,
I would say
Dominic
Dylan
Kubalik,
Larkin is their best player.
Ben Sherratt.
Eh,
So yeah, I mean they're not a great team. Their
yeah,
first unit power play is Oscar Sundquist, Dylan Larkin, Kabalik, Perron, and Philip Roenick.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, I mean, also your first one of your first line wingers not in the top 3 points on your team. Um,
yeah,
so off the first line only generating as much as Dylan Larkin can create.
yeah. And to be fair, like I don't know how, like I didn't have Detroit doing that well, and so them being where they are, I think this is actually like pretty good for the team. Like The goals allowed per game is pretty average. Like, okay, it's not where
Yes,
you want to be, but it's average.
yes, I think at best Detroit is an average team
Yeah. And
because I do not think whatever success they have achieved to this point is sustainable.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I'm probably looking at their offensive score coming down a little bit as the season goes on, but that's more so how we expect it to go. But I like Larkin is still their best player. He's still a good player, so maybe he could surprise us.
Yes, but unfortunately for him, the days of him being the franchise player of the next great Red Wings team has come and gone.
Yep.
I mean, he is now. I mean, he's still only 26, but
But it's
I mean, I think they would have hoped that he had some better surroundings by now.
yeah, and also like in today's NHL, you gotta like establish yourself. Like everybody expects your first season to be good. You have a sophomore slump, but then like after that, you gotta start establishing yourself. And I don't know that either A, he had the pieces to establish himself around, or did he make it there, right? Where he probably
He
could
made,
be.
the one thing that stands with me on Dylan Larkin in this, I mean, I don't watch Red Wings hockey, but he made the All-Star weekend back when the All-Star weekend was like
Yeah.
you could make the weekend for different reasons. Everybody was kind of an all-star, but the fastest skater participants weren't really
Yeah.
there because of their all-star play. They were there because they were really
Super
fast
fast.
skaters.
And he
I think
was.
Carl Hagelin was there when he was with the Rangers,
Yep.
and so Dylan Larkin was very fast, and he had a lot of hype around him at that point in time. He has grown into being a top line player, but he's probably not, the face of the franchise really in most teams.
No.
So,
All right, on to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Uh,
I mean, for what the Lightning are supposed to be, they're doing all right. But the fact of the matter is,
I
it's
would
hard.
say,
It's hard to go for a three-peat without losing talent. They've lost talent.
yeah, but
And I'm
also
not just
is
referring to John Granlund.
Vasilevsky is pretty like not living up to either his contract. I would say his contract more so than what we expected.
Okay, but there's another side to this too, and that is, you know, when you go so deep into the postseason 3 straight years, let's not forget the fact that when it was in the bubble, the teams basically were playing the NHL the finals in what was it, August,
Yeah.
September? So
Yep.
then turn around and then have a normal season. Granted, it was a little bit of a delayed start, but they basically pushed it together to not have to push out. So
Hmm.
basically, playing 3 seasons of going to the finals in a row in less than 3 full years has to be a lot on the body.
Yeah.
And eventually
Definitely.
your body can't recover to the point that it needs to. And that's probably where the Lightning are for some of their, I mean, goalies for sure, as well as their older talent. Like I'm sure Stamkos, he's doing fine by his standards, but you
Yeah.
know, Stamkos probably likely to encounter an injury. We know Kucherov has had injuries because it's more, he's the one player that got the rest during the last few years because of an injury.
Yeah. And to be fair, like the whole team is still they're still pretty good, right? They're generating
Mhm.
goals. The one thing is they're kind of high in goals allowed, but their power play is pretty good. Their penalty kill's okay.
Yeah,
So
and look, they have a lot of talent still. I mean, you, Corey Perry isn't Corey Perry of old, but he's on their fourth line,
yeah,
as well as Hayden Fleury and Pierre Edward Bellemare.
yep,
So like that's not a bad fourth line at all. It's
No.
just, they've lost pieces. The
Hmm.
guys who were there when they won cups are no longer there. They have Ian Cole on the first penalty kill unit. Um, so like they probably don't have the offensive touch on defense that they used to have outside of Hedman, but they
Yeah.
have sustainable pieces. Sergachev, Hedman, Ian Cole
Yeah.
couldn't do a lot better salary cap wise, I guess.
Fair. All right. On to Florida. Now, the one thing is, like, I definitely think they're generating way more in terms of goals than I thought they would. Even with however everything went down in the offseason, like scoring consistently three and one third goals per game is pretty impressive.
It is, but I will say this. Huberto on, you know, by word of mouth, I mean, statistically, Huberto last year, very good player, but was he a player who made or broke them being a very high scoring team? No.
No.
I think how they were built allowed them to be that team. Um, so now they're in a position where to Matt Chuck has come in, did everything so far that he was supposed to do as the return package. 37 points is, probably top 15 in the league.
Yeah, probably.
But, looking at this, you have Hornquist out, you have Anthony Duclair out, Radko Gudis is out.
Yep.
So these guys they don't account for a lot of the scoring, but Hornquist is your front of the net guy who's,
Yeah.
allows other things to happen. Um, but you have Sam Bennett on the second line. That is a red flag.
Yeah.
Granted, you have Eric Stahl on the third line, but you have Sam Bennett on the second.
Hmm. Now,
So,
that to be fair, like these are a lot of red flags, which is why like I think their offense is give them a high grade because like again, okay, outside of Kachuk, who do they have that is not injured right now? And you just look at Bennett on the second line and you're just like, okay, well, where is this team?
but when we also have to look at goaltending and realize that, Bobrovsky was handed a shit ton of money
Yeah.
and largely has not lived up to the amount of money he has been given.
But I'm pretty
At,
sure this goaltending is exactly what we're expecting out of Bobrovsky in this day and age.
at this point, at this
Yes.
point, because we have the evidence over his tenure in Florida that says what he is.
Yep.
Because Columbus Bobrovsky, very different. But I think our expectations of Bobrovsky have changed to say, well, he's a bad contract either way.
Yep.
And we kind of have to settle with what we have.
Hmm.
We don't have room to go anywhere else. So it's more like the Florida Panthers are good. They're good in spite of their goaltending.
But also, I think the Florida Panthers suffer from like having like making that decision to take on Bobrovsky's contract.
Yeah,
It's like the
any
team
team
could be so much
selfishly to
better.
hand over 70 some million.
Yeah. The team could be so much better without that contract, but hey.
Yes, but uh, when he, I don't want to get too much into previous years, but he was the hottest commodity in that class,
Yep.
and so
Yeah. All right.
gotta
On
overpay for
to
the hot commodity.
the Montreal Canadiens.
And Bobrovsky's making 10 million this year.
Yep, we know that. All right, well, we gave them straight C's out down the board because this is basically where I expected them to be.
I mean, for they're a building team in theory,
Hmm.
except for this rapid decline of talent that is Carey Price. So much so that he's not there. It's Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeau.
Montembeau,
Carey
yeah,
Price is Carey Price is on IR. Paul Byron is on IR. Jonathan Drouin is
is
on
on
IR.
IR.
Brandon Gallagher is on IR.
IR.
David Savard, Sean Monahan, and Mike Matheson all on IR.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it
Granted,
shows though, but like Kirby Doc, right? Almost 20 points is in their top point scorers.
Kirby Duck is a nice touch. However, there was a reason why he was traded out of Chicago.
Yes, I agree. No, I'm just
Now,
saying, like,
Chicago probably could have moved on from Kane or Taves instead. They gave up on Doc for a reason.
but also like, if Drouin is not on the IR, he's probably leagues ahead of Suzuki in scoring.
In
You have to
theory,
look at it
Duran
like,
has not been what he was supposed to be in
but
5 years.
do I think that he probably can score more than 30 points in 26 games? Sure.
Okay. All right. But anyway, no Carey Price. That wasn't going to be anything above a C. Jake Allen is
Jake Allen.
a fine goaltender. Defensively, they don't really have much of anything anyway.
Yep.
They traded Jeff Petrie, which probably was a smart thing to do because he's like, I think, 36 years old.
Yep.
Probably wasn't worth keeping his contract on the books.
Yeah.
So their defensemen are Joel Edmondson, Caden Gall, Jordan Harris, Jonathan Kovacevic, Arbor, don't even know,
Oh, Jack
XHEJAK,
Eye?
sure, Arbor Jackeye, and then Chris Weidman. So I can tell you, I know exactly one of their six defensemen. Maybe
Yeah.
two. I think I've heard of Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
Was he the
Well,
one who was
Jack Eye's
suspended
been
for
all
something?
over the news, hockey news at least. Anyway, on to the Buffalo Sabres, where we have our first like complete difference in one grade versus the rest, right?
Yes,
But
because Buffalo has found somebody to score all the goals.
yeah, I mean, it's not even just somebody. Like Thompson is there, but like Dahlin and Skinner both are 32. Like if they had three people in the 30s, I'm pretty sure we would still have them at least B plus.
Hey, look, Craig Anderson is their number one goalie, which that's that's just wild to say in itself. The guy is
Yeah, but I
41 years
mean,
old.
also, like, how can a team be so good at scoring, which should mean that the puck is in the opposing side of the ice for most of the game, be so bad at giving a like at defending? How?
Go ahead and answer there.
How
I
do you
mean,
have a
Rasmus Dahlin is there.
70.5% penalty kill and a 3.7 goals against?
Goaltending must be the issue. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, look, they don't have name brand defensemen outside of Rasmus Dahlin,
But
Owen
Dahlin is
Power.
contributing to offense. He has literally zero contributions to hit their defensive score.
Right, and I'm sure that's what they want Owen Power to be too. So it's like they don't really have real defense.
Fair.
Matthias Samuelson, Jacob Bryson, Kale Clegg, and Casey Fitzgerald. And you can tell me how many of those guys you've heard of before just now.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well,
Paige Thompson.
there. That Tay Thompson we know, but
That's all, no. I'm saying that's the only reason why there's an A somewhere on there.
yeah,
That and Jeff Skinner not being shit this year.
yeah, yeah. Giving Dahlin more basically.
And Jeff Skinner basically is he pops up like a groundhog. Like every 3 years, he's just gonna make sure that he can still stay in the league.
Yep. All right. On to the Ottawa Senators. This team is pretty atrocious for where they're supposed to be. Uh,
Yeah, and Matthew Joseph is out.
yeah. Finally.
Cam Talbot and Anton Forsberg are the goalies.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
I mean,
They literally went from Matt Murray to Cam Talbot.
but Cam Talbot's not like it's not like how Merziklin's is doing.
I understand that, but the thing with Cam Talbot was his peak was when he was a backup with the Rangers
But I
because
also
he was
think that
never out there long enough to be bad.
yeah, but like I feel like he's a good goalie if he's in a 1A 1B situation as either of them, playing like 45 games.
No, I think he's a maximum 30 game guy.
Okay, because I think he could make
That's
it
just
like half
my
the season.
that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, I'm of the opinion he can make half the season if he had somebody else to pick up half the season.
Okay. Anyway, Brady to Brady Kachuk is the only one really holding down the fort here. Tim Steitzel is also. I mean, look, Kachuk, Steitzel, and Giroux are all on the first line.
Yep.
Those are your top three scorers. DeBrinket's on the second line, but DeBrinket
Is
kind of
eh.
is what he is. He's not going to get much better.
Yeah.
Eric Brassard is still in
Yeah.
the NHL. That's just depressing. Thomas Chabot,
Yep.
Travis Hamonic is still in the league. Thought that guy was out of the league by now.
But
I
to be
mean, it was
fair,
nice of them to let Giroux come home to his hometown, but like there was really nothing else that anybody got out of that.
though, like seventh in power, like converting power play at over 25% is pretty damn good. But they just like, I'm pretty sure they're on the penalty kill way more.
Yeah, they probably. I mean, I have no idea.
Because if you look, the special teams differential right there is only 4 per like what is 104.5%, which is like okay, I guess. But like you gotta avoid the penalty box with a below 80% penalty kill ratio. Like extra. Won't you agree?
Let's see here. In terms of teams with the most power plays, Ottawa is one, two, three, four. They're fifth.
Uh,
105 or 106 power play chances.
oh god. That's
They are,
okay. What, that's like 25 or 26 7, about 28 they converted.
yeah. I'm just saying, our your initial theory of them probably
Yeah.
having
So they, I mean,
continuous is
having the most power plays is doing something for them, but still that can't keep them barely above 3 goals a game.
correct. In fact, I would say even strength of team is way worse.
Yeah, I would say way, way worse.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to the next one because we got a lot of teams to get through here.
Yeah. And the next one is the
And it's your
Devils.
Devils.
Yeah, so they're fourth in goals per game, 3.7. Second in goals allowed per game, 2.33. But they also have one of the least amount of shots allowed per game in the NHL
Mhm.
when we took these stats. Their power play is nothing to sneeze at, but their penalty kill is pretty damn good. Hughes followed by Bratton Heischer. Again, the reason that we have the goaltending being slightly ticked is because around the time we looked at these stats, Devils had the least amount of shots per game by like 3 over any other team.
Yeah. He sure, I'm looking at it here. He sure has taken about 30 less shots on the year than Hughes, still putting 13 goals.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is,
Not
like,
bad.
Hughes is doing his job by taking the puck and doing what he
And,
wants with
and
it.
spending the most time on the ice ever.
Yes, 6 minute shift.
Longest in NHL history, basically went and did public skate on an NHL arena.
Yep.
But yeah, you speak best when it comes to the Devils. I mean, me looking at it, I don't see a lot of depth here, but you may see something very different.
Now, the thing that's coming to hurt us right now is like Bastion being gone. I think is a huge thing. Um, like we survived without Palat. Blackwood, Schmidt is filled in for Blackwood pretty well. Blackwood's even going to go down for a conditioning stint. Now, like the thing is, while our scoring it's pretty centered around Hughes, Bratt, and Heischer. When what's his name? When Bastion was in the lineup, the fourth line could score. Bastion was in our number one power play unit. Like, I feel like even though we have reliance on these guys, we always had somebody or some line, one of the other three lines, to pull our weight. So it was more so that the whole team had a safety net of somebody else showing up rather than a lot of consistent top end scoring. Because when we were on our big win streak, our fourth line was out there against anything. Nobody cared. But you'll notice if you look at the fourth line today versus the fourth line when it was Wood, Bastion, McLeod, and Wood, you see a complete difference. But again, this happened after the 25 game, the 25% mark.
Okay. All right. Let's move on then.
All right, well, we have the Carolina Hurricane.
By the way, let's make sure that we go through the actual grades here.
Yeah. I did say for the Devils, I did say, but yeah. So yeah, they have a B plus. We gave defense an A because their goals allowed is pretty low. Their penalty kill is like average though. And the rest of the team has a B because I don't really expect much else. But I don't know. I think that they are not performing so well, but at the same time, like their team is still like showing up pretty good,
Yes,
especially for
I
the
mean,
Metro.
this is more of a you can't give an A to a team in goaltending that has Ante Ranta as their backup and Kachek Kochetkov, let's just call him, as your primary.
Yeah.
You know, Frederick Anderson, we know what he is,
Yep.
but we also know he's out.
Yep.
They also have Sebastian Aho day to day. They have Andre Case, Max Pacioretty, and Jake Gardner all on IR.
Yep.
So they're hit hard by injuries, but this is very much a defensively minded team.
Yep.
Very much the way that Barry Trotz Islanders team runs. So they're not designed to score a lot. They're more designed to keep you out of scoring. So,
Correct.
you know, you really have to be able to uh, get into the blue line and establish a forecheck against them, which you're likely not to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the team is doing pretty well, especially the Metros. They're up in the
They
Metro, so
are, they are, I will say this for their goals per game versus goals allowed per game, the ratio there in terms of difference is on par with teams that are very bad.
yeah,
Uh, but the difference is that goals allowed.
yeah, definitely. All right.
'Cause there actually are not a lot of teams that are statistically giving up more goals than they're putting in, which is hard to believe, I know, but at the same time, like that's what makes it all the more confusing is because you feel like whatever they're doing goaltending wise is not going to survive.
Yeah, fair. All right. On to why don't you take it over for this one?
Yeah, so the Penguins are, I mean, as a fan, I'm not going to get over the fact that they started 4-0, then seemingly could not win for 2 straight weeks.
Yep.
So now they're hot again, but they have that make of a very streaky team that I mean, Crosby at age 35 is on pace for his second best year of his career,
Yeah.
which would be very nice, but I don't think that the Stanley Cup is a realistic expectation. Uh, I think Letang playing after a second stroke is very admirable. I don't know that if it were me, I would even be considering hockey at this point in time. Um, but you know, this team is cap strapped, and they're going to have to figure out what they can be with this because there's no real going up from here. They can score, but they're still streaky when it comes to that. Um, Goaltending, they're on the better side of average, but they're not going to ever be elite.
Yeah.
Uh, for the star power that they do have, granted it's aging, their power play numbers are horrendous. Who would have
Yeah.
thought you put Malkin, Gensel, Crosby, uh, Letang out there all at once, and you'd be 25th in power play percentage. So there's not
Granted,
a lot of greatness
granted,
there.
it's not the worst we've seen by a
It's not
long
the worst,
shot.
but for what the Penguins should be
Yeah,
and have
fair.
historically been, it's not very good. Your first uh unit power play also has Ricardo Kell on it too, by the way. So
I mean, also looking at when I watch Penguins games, as like looking at another Metro team. When okay, I saw this team and a team we'll talk about later. It's so weird to see how streaky they play. You know?
I mean, it's not weird to me, but I kind of expect that. It's kind of hard to get emotionally into the games at this point.
All right,
You just kind of expect it to sway one way or the other.
fair. All right,
Anyway, moving on to the Islanders.
Islanders clean
Definitely we
slate,
gave us
B minus
we
everything.
yeah, B minus everything. And that's because,
They
the
they score
Islanders
goals at they're on the north side of three, which is what I look for. Um,
Islanders roster in itself has been exactly what it's been for 2 to 3 years now. Nothing has really changed. Um, other than the fact that there's apparently a second Sebastian Aho,
yep,
and he plays defense for the Islanders.
yep,
Anyway,
yeah,
so yeah, B minus across the board. This team is not the defensive based team that it once was. Sorokin is doing fine, but I think we agree that Sorokin is better than what he has been playing at this year. So his numbers are fine, but they don't match up to where he's been. So
correct.
um Barzell, it's still kind of a low scoring team.
But I really think that's more
Middle of
so
the road.
because like who does like Barzal is like he does whatever he does with the puck. It's just like when I was talking about the Devils, right? Hughes does whatever he does with the puck, but like
Hmm.
what does Barzal have around him to facilitate him get like, being in more scoring chances?
Right. And I agree with that, but like I don't know, at the same time they gave Barzell a crap ton of money and said you're the franchise guy. And to me, Barzell's too quiet of a guy, statistically speaking, to kind of do that alone.
Yes, but you need
He
someone around
needs,
him, right? That's what I
like
think.
I feel like when Tavares was with the Islanders, he was your ultimate alpha one. You didn't need a 1A, 1B. You
Uh-huh.
had your absolute one. Barzal strikes me as 1A, you need a 1B.
Fair. All right. On to the Rangers. Oh boy.
I mean, the Rangers, we gave a C on offense, a C on defense, and a B minus in goaltending. We gave them a C overall because I think the Rangers being this far low in the Metro, um,
To be fair,
especially after making the second round last year.
but also like I think last year was more so that their goaltending was an A that literally just like yanked them out of a ditch
Yeah,
because they're not getting the same goaltending, and I don't think we should expect them to be getting the same goaltending, but it's still okay.
you should be able to expect that they have an elite goaltender. Not necessarily expect elite goaltending every night, but you have an elite
Yeah.
goaltender who should be providing high quality defense or goaltending, I should say. I
Yeah.
mean, You have Panarin, Zibanejad, and Barkley Goodrow on the first line. You have Vincent Trocheck on the third line and Capo Caco on the second line with Lafreniere. Chris Kreider is also on the third line. You have Adam Fox. I mean, the defense in itself is not great,
Yeah.
roster speaking, but um, there's no reason why they shouldn't be higher in goals per game. Um, Other than I'm thinking, let's see, they have no players on injured reserve.
No, they just not.
There's no excuse.
They're just
There's
not
no reason.
producing.
Yeah.
That's it. Like that's the point. It's like you're giving no help because you're you're eighth in goals allowed per game at 2.8. That's actually pretty damn good.
I
How do
do
you
think
just
it's
give
funny that
no help to your goaltender?
I don't know, but bringing Jimmy VC back does not help either.
Yeah,
Jimmy VC, who looks like played for like 6 teams last year. That's sad. He's on the third line.
eh, what are you gonna do? All right,
Could
on
be like the
to
Devils and let him go.
on to the Capitals. Now,
I mean, they can't score.
to be fair, this is basically let's get Ovechkin to break some records for the next 2 seasons. That's literally all they're gonna do because that's gonna drive people to watch, regardless if the team is bad or not.
Yeah, and like the Penguins, they have kind of come full circle in turning their old guys into let's bring as much of the band back together as we
Oh,
can.
I mean,
So,
I guarantee you, this season, next season, it's literally let's get Ovechkin to break some records. That's it.
okay. Well, we gave the Capitals a C. Offense, they're a C. Defense and goaltending C minus a piece. I mean, they brought Marcus Johansson back.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean that's the bringing back the band part. Um, Other than that, I mean everything's kind of the same. Other than the fact that this is the outrageous part. Connor Sheary is on the first line instead of TJ Oshie.
Yeah.
I get that you need to have talent on the second line, and Sonny Milano, who was a waiver claim, is on the second line right now. Connor
Yeah,
Sheary should
fair.
never be on the first line. This makes absolutely no sense. Um,
Again, this is how do we get Ovechkin the
Oh,
most.
okay. I figured out why. I figured out why. Nick Backstrom, Carl Hagelin, Tom Wilson, Connor Brown, Darcy Kemper,
There you
Beck
go.
Mellenstein, Lars Eller. Or Lars Eller is not on IR, but all those other guys are.
Yep.
They have.
Which is
I
also
guess that's
why I
also
gave
why
the
Sonny Milano's
goaltending
on the
not a
roster.
lower grade because Kemper's on IR. Like, can't really blame the goaltending at that point.
True, but I mean, like they've let a lot of goaltenders go in the past couple of years, and
Hey, Devils are benefiting from one of them.
yeah, I mean, like they literally bought back Vanacek last year and then let him go again.
Yep.
So like obviously goaltending doesn't mean shit when they think that Ovechkin can outscore it. But this is the only team in the league that is truly actually they may not be the only team, but they are giving up exactly the same amount of goals as they are putting in.
Yep.
They are
Literally.
a zero-sum team.
Mm-hmm.
They only exist for Ovi to score from his spot on the power play.
They only exist for Ovi to slap shot from the slot.
Yep, pretty much.
That's it.
Can't
All
tell me I'm
right.
wrong until they're in the playoffs.
On to the
All right, Flyers.
Philadelphia Flyers.
And now we can say this because we're both fans of rival teams, but we grade this rationally. They're just not good.
Not at all.
They paid a lot of money for talent that just is very bad right now.
Yeah.
Kevin Hayes is doing okay, but they paid him on what a 7-year deal.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let's just point out the fact that your top point producer is Kevin Hayes at 28. And then
Well, because who else is it going to be?
in the top
James?
3 is Farabee at 15.
Well, yeah. Again, who else is it going to
But
be?
also, like,
Like,
again, literally the only reason the Flyers are where they are is because of Carter Hart.
okay.
That, like, the team around him is so bad that they get D's. I mean, they're not the worst we've seen, let's be honest. But
Okay. But anyway, we gave the Flyers a D plus, a D for offense, a D for defense. Carter Hart being the saving grace, he got a B for the goaltending. It
yeah, because
definitely
he's.
wasn't Felix Sandstrom.
Nope. All right. Last Metro team, probably the least, the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, they're just all kinds of bad. They brought in Johnny Gaudreau and just gave up on making
Well,
anything substantial happen anywhere else.
also, who was hurt? Somebody was hurt on that team pretty early on.
Give me a second here.
I think they just got
Uh,
back.
Zach Werenski,
No,
Jacob Voracek is
no,
out. Jake Bean, Adam Boquist, Justin Danforth. Those are all IR names.
no. It got off the IR recently.
Wasn't Boone Jenner, wasn't Nyquist, wasn't Line.
No, it was Line. He was
Oh, it was
he
Line.
was hurt for a while
Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, we gave the Blue Jackets an F, a D for offense, an
because
F
they
for
can
defense
at
and
least score
goaltending.
something. But I'm sorry, Merzlikins, like it. As much as like the hate he's getting should not be given to any hockey play. Like they just play hockey, man. You should not be like you know doing the things you're doing to this guy and his family. But like it's not good. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's also not good when Nyquist is on the first line at this stage of his career.
And again, like Line was out, right? So
Line's on the second line.
yeah. Doesn't really change anything, but still.
Line is playing with Jack Roslovich and Yegor Shinakov.
Shinakov, okay.
I think
Yeah, but also like the
there's
rest of
about
these
one good
stats.
line on this team.
Hold on, the rest of these stats are so bad. They are dead last in power play conversion. Dead last.
Well, here's who their power play is. They have Goodrow and Line, but it's Jack Roslovich, Boone Jenner, and Marcus Bjork.
Yup.
And
But you have Line and
the
Gaudreau.
sad
Like your
thing
power
is
play should be
they had to put
20th.
Nyquist on the second unit power play because they had nobody else to put on the
But
like.
like you have Gaudreau and Line. Shouldn't your power play be at least like 20th in the league?
In theory, but as you said, Line just started playing for this
Yeah.
year.
All right. Well, enough of that dumpster fire.
Winnipeg. Moving on
Winnipeg.
to the West, we gave Winnipeg a B plus, a B minus for offense, a B plus for defense, and an A for goaltending.
Yeah. Like I really have
Carter
the
Hart
feeling
has been amazing.
Winnipeg should be scoring more. But at the same time, they are producing. They are not
And
like they are above
we have
3 goals a
Nick
game.
Ellers on
So,
IR, but
yeah. And
Nick
then
Ellers on IR, but everyone else is kind of like, I mean, look, they kind of silently beefed up. They still have Shifley and Blake Wheeler, Kyle Connor, but then they added Dubois. Um, so that solidifies the top six. They have Sam Gagne on the fourth line, which I don't know him to be a big hitting fighter type. So I mean they have Josh Morrissey, Brendan Dillon, Nate
Mhm.
Schmidt is on their third pairing. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
So that adds to a Dubois, Shifley, Wheeler, Connor, and Morrissey power play.
Yeah, and I mean, like the team is doing really well. Like Morrissey, Dubois, and Connor top in points. Penalty kill is really good at almost 84%. Power play could be better, but they're still scoring. It's about average. And
Look, they don't have a solidified solo point leader, but that's because they're a team that's getting it from all areas.
yeah,
It,
and
it works both ways.
good on them.
Yes,
All right,
must be nice.
on to the Dallas Stars.
So
We
Dallas has a really good record.
yeah.
Um, you know,
And I
I'll
really
let you
feel
take it from
like
there.
Dallas, like, okay, they're scoring a lot more than I thought they would. Almost three and three quarter points goals per game. That's huge. Their goaltending is where you want them to be, especially when they're down to like Keith Kincaid at some point, or like Wedgwood went down for a while, and
They got
so
it.
they still have a good team in front of that goaltending, and the goaltending is showing up enough. And power play penalty kill is really good. You're at 109.9%, so they're 9% over on special team.
Mhm. Now, their first line is their top three scorers, but for a long time, I think we understood the Dallas Stars as one of the older teams. Sagan and
Yeah.
Pavelski, Jamie Benn, all kind of on the back end of their careers, but they have that youth in Jason Robertson and Rupe Ains
Mm-hmm.
that you know talk about talent that arrived well. So that has helped to solidify the top six to the point where Jamie Benn is now on the third line.
Yep.
They
Which is
added
good.
Luke Glendening. Then they have Ryan Suter. Talk about another man's trash is one's treasure. The fact that being bought out from the Wild means that you don't need a lot of money anymore. So you can just go play for anything at that point. So Ryan Suter on the second D pairing is very
And
nice to go with
on that
Mira
note, you
Iceman.
also have to mention Parise on the Islanders, who we reviewed
Yeah,
a
I
while
mean they
ago.
both signed for bare minimum deals.
Yeah,
So yeah, you know it's pretty
but
good. I mean
the
when you have
team
Ryan
as a
Suter on your
whole
second
has
power play,
been together on all cylinders. So I mean they're not where the Bruins or Devils were at the quarter point of the season, but they are
they're
still a
solid.
really tough team.
Yes, they're solid. They're not spectacular, but they're solid, and you'll take that. You'd rather be solid all year than spectacular in streaks.
Yep.
So we gave the Stars a B, an A on offense, B minus on defense, and a B plus for goaltending.
Right. All right. And the Minnesota Wild, with just the overall grade is a
B's
B, and we
across the
gave
board.
B's across the board.
Let's
We did this because most of their stats are pretty average, right? 17th in goals per game, 15th in goals allowed per game, 16th on the penalty kill, and 10th on the power play. But that doesn't really give much for their overall special teams percent, which is like 102 point something.
They're in a good spot because at least they knew our Kaprizov is because if he could not escape Russia, then this team is completely different.
Yeah. But also, shed the Suter and Parise contracts, but still pay them.
I mean, Frederick Gaudreau is on their second line.
Yeah.
Like they still are in a little bit of hell.
Yeah, they
Um,
will be for a while. But that's what I'm saying. Like, this team, for being in that hell, is doing really well.
they're okay. I mean, Flurry. I don't know the Flurry to be spectacular at this point, but I
No.
don't really know what Minnesota truly wants to be. They're definitely not cup contenders. They're playoff contenders, I guess.
But also, like, you got to assume that Minnesota just wants to get out of cap hell with the two buyouts they did.
True. Anyway, let's move on.
Next, we have Colorado with an overall B minus. Now, we gave offense a B, but they're dead middle of the pack with goals per game, but their power play is amazing.
And part of this again is what a team should be. Now we do have to acknowledge the fact that McKinnon is out right now. Rodriguez is out. Darren Helm is on IR.
Yep.
Landeskog is on IR. So there's a lot of bumps and bruises here. Um, but I think we expected better of the Avalanche at this point, especially coming off a cup win, because they're not built like some teams to kind of collapse and have the Stanley Cup hangover. Um, but right now their depth is just not there. They do not have a lot going for them.
Yeah. And that shows like their goals allowed per game. While it's low, it's 2.81. That's where a little bit better than probably expecting, but still under three is where we are expecting. And but their penalty kill is pretty atrocious at 76.1%.
They do lose Kemper from last year. Not that Kemper was anything above average, but
No, that's not really a loss in my opinion.
you I mean, compared to who they have now.
Fair. All right.
All right.
Nashville Predators, we gave them a C. They get a D for offense because they are 29th
Atrocious.
in goals per game and 28th on the power play.
Mhm.
To be fair, their special teams percent is actually atrocious at like
Is that what
93.
the hell?
Like your team, most teams are above 100 or around 100. That's where you want to be. Being anywhere in the 90s is so bad, especially as low of the 90s as they are.
Mhm. And I will say Matt Duchene is maybe one of the most spectacular busts in recent NHL because he had a couple good seasons in Colorado, got
Yep.
paid for it years later, and really has not really done shit.
Right.
And I mean,
But
they're not probably in cap hell, but he's definitely not helping them get out of it.
right, but at the same time like we gave the Predators a B minus in defense cuz while they're dead middle of the pack in goals allowed per game, that is basically the only saving grace they have. And the Predators have historically been a really good team at developing defense and having more defensive players in the pipeline.
Well, good news for the Predators. The $10 million years of Duchesne are he's also 32 years old and he's gonna get 9 million next year.
Great.
But at least they're done with 28 million of the actually right now they're in the 36 million of the $56 million deal.
Yep. All right. Oh, and we gave goaltending a C plus because that's about where they are.
That's all it ever should have been at
Yeah.
the highest for them.
Yeah. All right. On to the St. Louis Blues, our very
Bad.
first
They're
F
bad.
on defense, but they have an
They're just
overall D.
absolutely bad.
Um, They are dead last on the penalty kill. They're another team. This team has an 87 point or 88% for their special teams percent, which is actually atrocious.
Yeah.
Uh
And they don't score anywhere near enough.
and the thing is, right, the Blues went on a massive losing streak just to go on a massive winning streak, so they're so streaky that like I can't really base my how they're doing off of one of those. It has to be off the collective. And even with them going on their winning streak and having their losing streak, 32nd on the penalty kill, 29th on goals allowed per game is not how you play a game. And also 23rd in goals per game, you're scoring just barely under 3, but you're letting in basically 4. Your only saving grace is your league average on the power play.
I think at this point it's time to start looking towards getting rid of Tarasenko, who's in the last year of his deal. 31 years old, and he has fallen off very hard.
Yep.
He is
Uh,
nowhere near the player he used to be.
yeah. And just to wrap up, we gave C for offense because while it's bad, I didn't really expect much different. F for defense because this is really bad, and D minus for goaltending because it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it is.
All right, on to the Coyotes. And as much as I would have loved to give the Coyotes a C because they're actually doing pretty well, I did expect them to be slightly
Given
better.
the circumstance, given the fact that they play in a YMCA, basically,
But also, like
they 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 play for a public school.
the team has been so bad historically, and they're actually pulling themselves out of it now, even with these stats. Like you wouldn't think 28th in goals per game or 27th in goals allowed is pulling himself out of it, but if you know the Coyotes, you know that this is pulling them out of it.
No, but at the same time, I look at this roster and it screams guys past their prime that are in Arizona for the reason of trying to revive their career and keep it going. Shane Goss is there. Nick Bukestad. Um, you know,
Okay, to be fair, Gossesbear is 20 points. I think that's pretty good for where everybody thought he'd be.
okay, but Philly gave up on him.
Yeah,
He was supposed to be the future of Philly, and they gave up on him.
yeah.
So, this is like going to the
But
Pirates.
they still have Clayton
And
Keller,
yeah,
point per game.
Clayton Keller is fine. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I would have loved to give them a C because I really think that I would, but they should be slightly better. If they were like one or two, or even like two places more on average in all these stats, I would have given them a C.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they are in the 20s for everything says that you can't give them a C.
But
In
to
fact,
be fair, like,
in
okay,
fact, I'm considering a D plus because you can't be bottom third in everything and
but
be
I'm giving them a C based on where they should be versus where they are. Because if you look at the Coyotes historically, I'm sure you're going to see multitudes of 30s in there. Like, dude,
you shouldn't. There were less teams in the league.
30. 30 is the
Yeah.
amount of teams in the
So for
league.
them to be better than dead last, they would be in the 20s.
Yeah. Yeah, but like if I'm saying like if they were 20th or 19th on the power play while being like 20th in the penalty kill, I would consider it bumping them up. But because like
So bold of you.
I would say that I would expect them to be 25th or lower in everything. All right.
Arizona Coyotes' biggest fan. When they needed a hero, Sean was there. I think they're actually not terrible. I think they're just on a really good side of very bad.
All right. Chicago
Put a
Blackhawks, let's
poster of that
go.
and put it outside the arena.
You want to talk bad? Let's talk absolute dead last in
I
goals
like
per
how
game.
the grades get worse after that.
Yeah.
You want to talk real bad?
Let's talk.
Yeah. So we gave the Blackhawks a D. Not only because of the fact that even the Cleveland Indians rebranded. Um, so we gave the offense a D, the defense a D plus, the goaltending a C minus, and I'm just gonna go ahead and give general management an absolute F
Yeah.
because at this point Sam Lafferty is on the first line.
Yeah,
Now
it's
I
pretty
know you
bad.
don't know Sam Lafferty like I know Sam Lafferty, but Sam Lafferty was fringe fourth line in AHL when he was with the Penguins. Um, Jonathan Taves is, I mean,
I mean, both
14
Like
points.
you can just talk about Kane and Taze together and then be done with it.
Yeah, you can also add the fact that Tyler Johnson is on this team too. And
How
again,
about the fact that like Max Domi at 19 points is one of their better players?
it's just really bad. Jack Johnson's on their fourth or first pairing with Seth Jones. That's that's just overpaying
Do we
and really
do we
sad.
need to elaborate more?
No, no, I don't need to mention anybody else on the roster. I think those two players in itself tells you everything you need to know.
Right.
The
All
fact
right.
that Jack Johnson is still in the league,
All right. Well, on to the Pacific and the Vegas Golden Knights.
thank God.
They are
Coming out of state for
overall
Chicago.
B plus. We gave offense an A minus. We gave defense a B and goaltending a B plus. Um,
So,
e-
I mean, the Golden Knights kind of exist in spite of themselves because we know that their management is just absolutely atrocious.
yo,
That being said, the guys that they got rid of when they first came around to get prospects kind of panned out.
hmm yeah,
So, I mean, Chandler Stevenson, Paul Cotter on the first line. Uh, you know, they had Phil Kessel on the third line. Riley Smith is there with William Carlson and Jonathan Marchessault. Mark Stone's on the first line still. Uh, Alec Martinez from LA comes over. So I mean, their defensive pairings aren't the most well known, but they're known for being able to be consistent.
yeah. And like, okay, we're giving them an A minus, and their goals per game and power play seem low, but it's getting the job done. Like, they just find a way. And I also think it's like the teams they're playing in their division aren't really that strong, but at the same time, like, they still find a way to win. They Eichel is being
Very
Eichel.
much 2017 all over again,
Like,
or
yeah,
2018, whoever it is.
and they have for having such a bad penalty kill, which I blame on the defense. Their goals allowed per game is ridiculously low at 2 2/3.
And let's not mention the fact that Shea Weber, Robin Leonard, Nolan Patrick, and Jack Eichel are all still on IR.
Yep,
Petrangelo and Shea Theodore are day to day
yep.
out.
All right, on to the newest team, the Seattle Kraken. We're giving them a B. Um, Even though they have a glaring 29 on the penalty kill.
Yeah, we gave them an A minus on offense. So, they're scoring a lot better than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because they actually filled in some of the cracks with Jaden Schwartz, Andre Burakovsky, and Jared McCann. Um, but defensively, B minus, a B for goaltending. Um, but I do think that they had guys last year who were playing ahead of their grade, and I think this year they're kind of slotting in better. I don't think that they're cup threats, but
Yeah, but
they're
they're
growing.
playing really well.
Hmm.
So I don't think you can give them anything lower, especially like they're new and
They're solid for what they are.
solid. Yeah. All right. Next team, LA Kings. We gave them a C
And a
plus.
team that's building upwards, even though I'm sure Anze Kopitar probably doesn't have the patience to do that.
Yeah. So we gave them a C plus. We gave them BCD down the line. Goals per game is still pretty high at 10th at 3.4, but they're letting in 3.6. That's ridiculous. Their power play is really good, but again, their penalty kill is dropping the ball.
Who's their top prospect from a couple years back?
No idea. Not a clue. Yeah, but as you were saying, like Fiala, Kopitar, pretty
Quentin
good. Huh?
Byfield still is not on the NHL roster.
Yep. Not surprised.
That's crazy because he was like supposed to be brought up like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. All right. On to. Do you have anything else to say about the Kings?
No, I don't want
All right, on to the Oilers. They have an A on offense, but then the rest of their team just drops down. They are the absolute
them.
best team on the power play and have literally the two players with the most points in the NHL, basically, McDavid and Draisaitl with 54 and 46 respectively. They're fifth in goals
But
per
at the end of the
game.
day, nothing's new.
Yeah, but their defense is completely dropping the ball because they're 22nd in goals allowed and 27th on the power play, which brings their special teams percent to 102 when it should be so much higher.
Hmm. Yeah, but I'm just gonna keep saying it. There's nothing new about the
Nothing new.
Oilers.
So offense is an A, defense is a C, goaltending is a C plus because there's not really much
David
defense
has a
ahead of
lot
you.
of points. Draisaitl has a lot of points. The defense has not a lot, and the goaltending is marginally better.
Yep. All right,
And it won't be better by the end of the year.
Calgary Flames. We gave them a B minus. Although they are 21st in goals per game at 3.04, 14th in goals allowed at 3.07, 24th on the power play at 20%, and 10th on the penalty kill at 80%.
Yeah. Look, Huberto is largely not done as much as is needed. Uh,
No.
Granted that for the
But
trade,
the
but
team is competitive. Like I don't know. People who expected Huberto to do what like
David does.
yeah, like that's ridiculous. So I don't think that makes sense. At the same
But
time,
look, their top line is not their best scoring line.
yeah,
They
makes sense.
have Tyler Toffoli, Michael Backlund, and Huberto on the first line, and Kadri is their second best scorer, and then what?
Lindholm and
Lindholm,
Anderson.
and Lindholm is on IR, I think.
Yep.
No, he's not.
Yeah, but at the same time, like this is
Yeah, he
better
is.
than I thought the Flames would be. But at the same, like they're doing okay, better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, I think that Kachuk trade was a shuffle the deck move
Hmm.
for a team that didn't want to admit that, after giving up on the Giordano era, it's either you tear down or you try to shuffle.
Hmm.
And so this was the shuffle.
All right.
If it doesn't work, they got to tear down.
Yeah. All right. We have the Vancouver Canucks with their
Bad.
offense being a B plus, the rest of their team getting a D for a C minus. They reason their offense gets a B plus. They're ninth in goals per game at 3.5, and they're sixth on the power
Yes,
play.
they're best known this season for scoring so much that they lost every one of like their first 5 or 6 games by blowing multi-goal leads.
Yup.
So that speaks to being able to put the puck in the net, but not being able to defend it, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what the story's been the rest of the way. Because it's not that they're giving up multiple goal leads every night;
Yeah.
they just can't outscore their mistakes.
Yeah. And they're 30th in goals allowed at almost 4, and they are 30th at the penalty kill at under 70%, which is actually atrocious.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Horvat is still killing it though at almost 29 points, and Pedersen has
Ooh,
34. What do you expect? The team scores.
I mean, this team's not very good. It's amazing that they score, to be honest with you.
All right. Next team, we got the San Jose Sharks. Um, they have overall D, two D minuses, defense and goaltending, and was C minus in offense. That's because the amount they score and their power play is okay at just above 3 goals per game and above 20% on the power play. But they let in almost 3.6 goals per game. That cannot happen. And
This
while
team
they
is so
are
bad that I assume that Martin Jones is still goaltending for it.
I thought Martin Jones was on the Kraken.
That correct, which is why that's how bad they are. I assume that Martin Jones flamed out so much he ended up back there.
From what I understand, he's actually doing pretty well on the Kraken.
That's great. It only took him 4 years to regain his form.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, the on the opposite side, you have Carlson as the point leader at 37. Myers there with 27. But the team doesn't really have much else, in my opinion.
Yeah, they never really did, to be honest with you. And that's because, you know, Hurdle and Meyer are good pieces at the end of the competitiveness of Thornton era and Pavelski era. And because they're good complementary pieces that are good enough to round out a roster, but they're not good enough to lead a roster.
Yeah.
Um, so they're good enough to be all-star players, but they'll never be bona fide faces of the franchise. So
Yeah. All right. And last team on the list, and I'm pretty sure the worst. I wanted to give them an F, but we're being nice. We
no,
have
yeah,
the
I'm not
Anaheim
fine to say
Ducks. Um,
this team. I want to put it out there. This team is represented on the cover of the video game this year.
yeah.
The worst team in the league. Very like
And also, they
other than
have a
Columbus,
pretty
far and
hyped
away.
player in Zegras.
Like I'm willing to take the F away from Columbus and give it to Anaheim because when you look at this, they are bottom three in every category, Sean.
Yes.
They're giving up almost 2 goals more per game than they can put in.
Yes.
And that's in a league where Carolina is only outscoring the number that they allow in by 0.19. They're giving up 2 whole goals.
Yep.
And, yeah. In terms of power play opportunities, because we do have to speak on that too, they have 83 power play opportunities.
Which should be
Uh,
average.
it
3 per game.
instead is 2.3. No, sorry, I'm reading this wrong. But they are bottom five
Okay.
in opportunities
Okay.
in
Because
the
I
league.
thought the average
And
was
also,
3
by
point
the way,
something per game. So yeah, they're probably low. But what about
yeah,
penalty kill?
that's a different table that I do not have open. This
Because
is
I'm pretty sure it's the
also,
opposite.
I mean, penalty kill. They're just bad. Let's just call it that.
I mean, yeah,
They're the worst.
I was debating giving this team an F.
Oh, you mean from the other day? Yeah, they take about 2 more penalties over the NHL average per game.
Yeah.
I think they have around 12.4 penalty minutes per game.
Yeah. And the NHL
So
average is
they're
8.
taking 2.5 penalty minutes. Hold on. Let's see here. Anaheim Ducks penalty minutes per
Okay,
game.
to be fair, let's talk about something positive, and that's Zegras, who you see has
The
23
Ducks have
points on the year.
12.29 penalty minutes per game this season, according to StatMeans.
Yeah, and that's
Nope,
leagues
no,
above the league average.
12.41. Yes, it is. It is absolutely incredible how many
And
times that
so
they
they
enter the
take
box.
they take 6 penalties per game, and they let in 1 goal for every 3 penalties they give up.
Yeah, that's where the 2 goals per game comes in.
No, that's 2 of the 4.
I'm saying that they're already playing from behind. That's the 2 goal margin that they're giving
Ah,
up
fair.
is they let in an automatic 2 goals every game.
Yo. All right. Yeah.
If only they brought Sonny Milano back.
Yeah.
He did have that one play with Zegras last year.
Yeah. All right. So there are NHL grades. Let us know what you think. And yeah, we got anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, I really think that we should have just given the F to Anaheim at this point, but Columbus is pretty damn bad too.
Yeah.
The sad thing is Columbus is spending the money to try to not be bad, and they're just really bad.
Yeah, that's the point. Like they're spending money and they're that bad.
Yeah, yeah, it's not great.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in and we'll catch you next time.